Welcome back to MADMAN Review. So, you know how we, men, have always been total nerds? From the get-go, we've been all about making and using gadgets to make life a breeze. I mean, we were top of the food chain 500,000 years back when we rolled out with stone spears and bows and arrows. Then, around the 19th century, we whipped up some gunpowder, and boom! Hello, guns. Now, I'm oversimplifying, but guns popped up around the 1300s and we've just kept making them better and better. The whole idea, well, sometimes, whether we like it or not, we gotta take something down to get by. It ain't the prettiest truth, but guns sure help with that. But here's the kicker. With all the guns we've made in the last 100 years, there are some that made people want to pull their hair out. Doing some research on this subject made me ask myself, who looked at these and went, yep, let's make a ton, or who approved this? So, without further ado, here's our lineup of the top 5 guns that shouldn't have been made in the first place. Number 5, the FP45 Liberator. So, during World War II, the Allies were all about backing up the resistance fighters in Europe. They wanted to light up the continent with the rebellions and stuff. To help with that, they made this nifty little gun called the FP45 Liberator. The whole idea? Give the resistance guys a stealthy little pistol to sneak up on the bad guys. The name Liberator says it all, right? Imagine this. They plan to airdrop tons of these all over Europe. Think about German soldiers getting all paranoid, wondering who had a secret pocket pistol. This tiny thing was only 5.55 inches long, weighed about a pound, and could fit snugly in your jeans. The idea was for a rebel to get close, pop an enemy, and then swipe their way better gun. But the catch? You had to be super close, like within 13 feet, because this wasn't some sniper weapon. It used the same ammo as the Colt M1911, the 45 ACP. Even with its basic design, at close range, it packed a punch. The US was pretty stoked about this plan. They churned out 1 million of these bad boys at the GMC Guide Lamp Factory in Indiana. They sneakily named it the Flare Projector Caliber 45 to keep it hush-hush. And making this pistol was super easy on their budget. Within 11 weeks in 1942, 300 folks whipped up 1 million of these with just 23 steel parts each. They cost only $2.40 to make, so folks cheekily dubbed it the Woolworth Pistol. When someone got a Liberator, it came in a cardboard box with 10 bullets, a wooden stick, and a comic book-like manual. It could only shoot once before you had to reload, and reloading was a chore. You had to use a wooden stick to push out the empty brass. But here's the kicker. Even with all this effort and sneaky planning, these pistols didn't really see much action. Just a few got to the resistance guys, and there's no proof anyone actually made a successful sneak attack with one. After the war, most of them ended up either taking a deep-sea dive or got melted down. Crazy, huh? Number 4, Sha Machine Gun. So, have you ever come across the Sha Machine Gun? I'm talking about the one with the official sounding name, the Fusil Model 1915 CSRG. This bad boy started off with a decent rap, but quickly fell from grace when the soldiers had to use it. In the grand game of telephone that is history, some folks got it twisted, calling the Sha one of the first assault rifles. But let me set the record straight. This was a light machine gun through and through. Comparing it to a rifle is like calling a tank a Humvee. Now here's where things got funky. The folks behind the Sha, aiming for some kind of streamlined process, decided to chamber it in the 8mm Lebel cartridge. Why? Well, it was the French Army's go-to at the time. Sounded logical if you wanted easy manufacturing and ammo flow. But there was a little hiccup. The 8mm cartridge had this peculiar rimmed base, so instead of stacking up neat and straight, they ended up curving like a banana. Hold on to your hats, cause the design choices even got wackier. The brains behind the Sha whipped up this half-moon magazine, tucking in from the bottom. Sounds cool, right? But then they added these cutouts, which I guess were there so you could peek in and see how much ammo you had left. a little window into your bullet world. Only problem, it turned out to be an open invite for mud, dirt, and all sorts of gunk, causing the gun to jam more than a traffic-packed freeway during rush hour. Now, here comes another curveball. Enter the Gladiator Company. Yep, you heard it right. A company known for making bicycles was brought into the gun game. Some bright spark-figured, steel tubes and guns, same difference, right? Nope. Gladiator, bless them, had absolutely zero experience with firearms. Their show-shaws were more unpredictable than a cat on catnip. But that's not all. When the US threw its hat into the World War I ring, France, trying to win the Best Ally award, made show-shot guns for American bullets. But this new version was like a sequel nobody asked for. Worse than the original. All in all, the show-shaw's legacy is a roller coaster of facepalms and, seriously, moments. A captivating tale when good intentions meet epic misfires. Number 3. Mars Pistol. Ever heard of the Gabet Fairfax Mars? If not, I don't blame you. It was this beast of a handgun that was so wild, complex, and powerful that most people were like, thanks but no thanks. It had its 15 minutes of fame between 1898, when Webley first made it, and 1907 when everyone was like, maybe let's not. So, rewind to the start of the 20th century. Revolvers were the cool kids on the block, but then pistols started showing up. Some were legendary like the Colt 1911, while others, not so much. And that brings us to the Mars pistol. Despite being made by the big British brand Webley, it wasn't actually their brainchild. This pistol monster was dreamed up by a dude named Hugh Gabet Fairfax, who got Webley to build it. So, what happened was Fairfax wanted to make a self-loading pistol, but what did he end up with? Something that looked more like a pocket-sized cannon than a handgun. This Mars pistol was all sorts of quirky. The magazine had this weird steel finger bit covering the top cartridge, so to load it, you'd have to yank the cartridge back up, like some weird dance move. Oh, and it only held 6 rounds, same as the good old revolvers. The breech block, it was like a Rube Goldberg machine. Shoot the pistol, and the block and barrel would both kick back. Then, once the barrel moved forward again, it would spit out the empty cartridge. And where would it often go? Yep, right in the shooter's face. Talk about a design flaw. It came in 3 chamberings, 8.5mm, 9mm, and 45 caliber. The last one? It was the Hulk of pistols at the time. But that immense power was also its downfall. Each shot felt like holding a mini explosion in your hand. One report from a test run even said once was enough. And both the War Office and the Royal Navy nodded in agreement. They passed on the Mars, and in the end, only around 70 were ever made before Fairfax threw in the towel. Quite the tale of ambition, huh? Number 2. Colt Model 1855 Revolving Carbine. Imagine taking the rapid-fire system of a revolver and combining it with the power of a rifle. That's what Colt tried to do in the 19th century with their revolving rifles. Sounds cool, right? Well, in theory, it was. In practice, not so much. In 1855, Colt introduced their Model 1855. This was a revolver with a totally enclosed cylinder. They called them side hammer revolvers, but some folks also referred to them as Root revolvers, named after Elisha K. Root. He was the big brain at Colt's factory, overseeing the whole shebang. With a side hammer design in hand, Colt then made the side hammer Model 1855 rifles, and even threw in a revolving shotgun for good measure. As the Civil War was revving up, Colt expanded his production and started pumping out a light 44 caliber Army revolver and its 36 caliber Navy sibling. Here's where things went south. They turned that revolver into a rifle and a shorter carbine version. In 1855, the US military thought, hey, let's give this a shot, making it the first ever repeating rifle they adopted. But the design was so sketchy that they didn't use it till 1857. The big issue? Gunpowder. Gunpowder from the cartridges would leak and settle around the cylinder. Any hot gas escaping from the cylinder barrel gap could ignite this powder. Worse, it could cause a chain fire. What's that, you may ask? Imagine pulling the trigger to shoot, but instead of one bang, you get a bunch all at once. That's a chain fire. It's like when your fireworks go off all at once. It can be pretty freaky. Sometimes nothing happens except a big scare. Other times it can mess up the gun. Worst case, the shooter is in for a world of hurt. Trust in the Colt Model 1855 tank. Some commanders got crafty, telling their troops to fire it in certain ways to avoid injury. Others said, just load one chamber. But that kinda defeated the whole purpose of a rapid-fire rifle. In the end, only about 4,400 of these bad boys were made. It wasn't Colt's finest moment, but hey, not every idea is a winner. Number 1. The Beretta Modelo 30 Light Machine Gun. The Beretta Modelo 30. If one were to draft a Hall of Fame for unfortunate firearm designs, this Italian light machine gun would probably be right at the top. The Beretta Modelo 30 was, in many ways, a poster child for how not to design a weapon. Used by the Italians during World War II, it boasted a clumsy, ungainly design that looked so uncomfortable as it functioned. Let's break down the Modelo 30's features. Its firing system operated from a closed bolt, a choice which, while fine for some firearms, was catastrophic for a light machine gun. This design meant there was no air circulation, leading to an immense heat buildup. In the world of firearms, that's a big no-no. Heat is a cartridge's worst enemy, especially in a closed chamber. The Modelo 30 had a nasty habit of cartridges going off without a trigger pull, endangering the shooter and anyone else nearby. But wait, there's more. The Beretta had another peculiar feature, an integral oil pump designed to lubricate cartridges as they were chambered. While this was meant to ensure smooth extraction of casings, it brought its own problems, namely combining lubrication with a fixed 20-round box magazine, which could only be reloaded using a stripper clip. And if that wasn't enough, the magazine had a cutout on top, much like the ill-fated Sha. This window was a welcome mat for sand, dirt, and debris. Now let's do some math. Dirt from the cutout plus oily cartridges equal a cleaning nightmare. Unsurprisingly, this equation also resulted in frequent weapon jams when firing. Every soldier values a reliable weapon in the heat of battle, and unfortunately, the Modelo 30 was anything but. In the end, the Beretta Modelo 30 serves as a textbook example of how a series of poor design choices can turn a weapon from a potential asset to a liability on the battlefield.